This program is brought to you by Emory University.
What was it like to follow your favorite team in the early days of Major League Baseball? How could you keep up with the score in the days before radio, television, and wireless technology if you weren't at the game personally? If diehard fans couldn't attend a World Series, sometimes they could follow the progress of the game as the events were relayed by telegraph or by watching large chalkboards where the action and the players were depicted play by play against the image of a baseball diamond. When my son played college baseball, I followed his games on a live statistical interface called Game Tracker. And watching the play-by-play simulations on my computer screen, I was able to experience baseball from two vantage points simultaneously. Paradoxically, I discovered, in making use of contemporary electronic technology, I took a step backward in time. In the early decades of the 20th century, the progress of important baseball games was relayed by telegraph to hundreds of city taverns, where the staff kept a running tally of plays and scoring on large chalkboards. Sometimes the tavern owners merely posted an inning-by-inning box score, but many establishments went further. They supplemented the raw numbers with various graphics. There were large painted diamonds on which small cutout shapes could be moved to track the location and progress of base runners, or to display defensive alignments or substitutions. Lawrence Ritter, in the book we're reading this week, The Glory of Their Times, includes a photograph on pages 220 and 221 of a large crowd gathered in New York Times Square, watching, so to speak, the 1919 World Series on a mechanical diamond propped up against the Times building. It was through Game Tracker that I got to relive these early 20th century experiences of baseball. And I was both surprised and pleased at how fully they brought games to life. You might think it sounds silly to say I got more worked up emotionally watching figurations on a computer screen than I ever did when I sat in the stands, but that really was the case. There was something about seeing players turned into icons that made them more capable, not less, of generating emotional involvement. It reminded me of the way empathic response to art sometimes is produced more effectively by figural abstractions than by realism. For example, some years ago, I read that in a survey of Americans who were asked what's the saddest moment they ever remember in any movie, they chose overwhelmingly the scene in Walt Disney's cartoon Dumbo, when the little elephant is separated from his mother. That more emotion could be generated by a cartoon than any other film is significant, I think. It shows how powerful simulations can be. Watching baseball on Game Tracker made me especially anxious because there was always a delay of a minute or so between the time a play actually happened and the time when the scorekeeper's information was uploaded onto the broadcast network. Same thing would have been true for those fans in Times Square waiting for the latest information. I found it almost intolerable waiting for those little figures to be shifted into their new positions on the board. I mean, I knew the pitch had been made, but I was ignorant of whether it was a ball or a strike, a hit or an out. That made the game in some ways more exciting for me, not less, seeing it only in my mind's eye, and knowing that I was waiting for news of an event that was already over. I think that the fans that you see in that picture assembled in Times Square in 1919 may have felt the same way.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.